Hello and welcome guys, my name is Yoshi from Neverwinter Uncensored and I'm on the preview server to talk a little bit about the new module 14 campaign today. Of course, Ravenloft, as any module, features a campaign to loosely guide you through the story and keep you busy for a couple weeks. And completing the introductory quest line will lead you to the new adventure zone Barovia, in which all relevant campaign dailies and weeklies are performed. And in case you've played through module 12 and 13, you should be very familiar with the general setup of the campaign. We once again operate with a weekly haul, which is basically a hard cap on how much campaign currency you are able to earn per week. I personally like it because you can freely pick when to fill your haul and do not necessarily have to come back daily to not lose progression like it is in the earlier campaigns of the game. You can very well complete your weekly haul within one gaming session. But unlike Child, the campaign is structured more linearly. You have this main progression path that you climbed up, and it kind of reminds you of how Maze Engine was structured. And all the tasks are 100 Omens, which is the new main progression currency. All tasks give a random Taroka high card, and I'll go over that feature when we talk about hunts, but for the campaign right now it's not super important. And then some tasks increase the weekly haul, unlock new weeklies and also new items in the campaign store. This is how the Child campaign worked as well, so basically the more you progress, the more omens you are able to farm per week. And I've not unlocked any of the additional weeklies yet, but I assume it's solo instance quests because there's a feedback thread up in the preview section of the official message board that mentions them. Then you have a second choice, which are the boons. This is a repeatable task, and the boons are once again very similarly structured to Child boons. You got to pick 3 out of the basic ones, and you can go with 3 different ones or just rank up a single one to make it stronger. All have 3 tiers. You have the choice between recovery, movement, control, resist, increased damage versus undead, increased damage resistance versus undead, and hit points. You can also pick one of these capstone boons. Bloodlust is a personal power buff, Transfusion a heal over time, Hypnotic Gaze a support DPS group buff, and Righteous Sacrifice a support power group buff. Especially the last 2 are interesting for the current endgame meta as they buff the group. The first is probably best for those Control Wizard Oppressor type of builds, and Righteous Sacrifice, because it requires getting hit, can probably be best utilized by tanks. Overall, not super impressive stuff as always, but you know, the more boons you have, the more those add up to become a sizable advantage. Yeah, and that's basically it for this structure. So you farm the campaign currency and then have to decide to go for the boons or progression first, which obviously leads to unlocking the new endgame dungeon Castle Ravenloft and a corresponding key. So I assume most players will do just that, especially since getting the weekly haul extensions means that you are able to grab the boons at a much higher pace later. The whole campaign will take 4 weeks to unlock Castle Ravenloft and another 4 to get the boons. If you choose to go for the boons first, it's 7 weeks for the boons and another 4 to unlock the dungeon. So I don't really recommend that. How do you get omens? Well, there are 4 main quest givers in the village of Barovia. This Esmeralda mainly hands out weeklies, which give 25 omens. And, you know, it's really standard. One weekly is fighting heroic encounters, another one doing quests and hunts in the zone, similar to Soshenstar River and Omu. And then there are 3 more in the tavern that hand out rotating quests that give 5 omens each. Again, seems to be like Child, where completing one quest unlocks another, so you can chain as many of them as you need to fill your haul. And maybe one more thing, we have this new day and night cycle in the zone, indicated by this ring around the minimap. And some quests can only be completed at day or night. And I mean, it's intriguing to some extent because it's new, but you basically just can't complete all the quests at any time. But then I haven't really run into situations on preview where I actually had to wait for a certain quests. You always can kind of do other stuff and then just come back later. Last but not least, let's look at the campaign store. You can get some gear from there, salvage stuff that actually goes as high as item level 510, which might be nice for some players. And then also the new artifact sets can be fully obtained through the campaign, as well as a reagent required for the mod 14 weapon set. This is just a FYI at this point. We'll go over the gear in a separate video or article. And overall, they are absolutely not reinventing the wheel with this one, but I personally feel like it's a campaign that shouldn't be too annoying, and I guess in terms of campaigns that's a plus. The boons are nice, most dailies are manageable and fast to complete, and having these artifacts in the store certainly adds some significance to the Ravenloft campaign. This wraps up our video about the Module 14 campaign. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you guys next time.
Don't want to rich and come down